Hello viewers, welcome to this week's episode on Health Watch on Advent Cable Network Nigeria, ACNN. I am Angela Emeka Ebibo. Good men are not just born, they are built, shaped and molded during their childhood and adolescent years by their experiences, influences, communities, and most importantly, the mentors in their lives that they look up to. The process of transiting from a teenage boy to a man is a long process that requires a lot of intelligent navigation and help. I'm not really sure how it works in the world of men because obviously I'm a woman. So on the program today, I have two guests that I trust to help us understand the process. They have passed the process successfully and are doing well with their young, beautiful families. I have Mr. Chuba Ezako. He's a psychologist, an estate surveyor, and teens coordinator. Chuba, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you.
Glad
I'm
to
actually
be here.
excited to have Chuba on the program today. All right, and then joining him is Raphael Ojoakomo. He's an earth scientist, media personality, and also a gospel artist. Rafiki, it's good to have you on the program. Thank you for coming. So, well, actually, you're not strangers to me, so I'm very relaxed in this conversation because I know we're going to have a lot of fun discussing boys to men, from boys to men. I mean, understanding the process. So, you have your lovely families. At least you have a girl. You have a daughter. You have two daughters, a daughter and a son. Ah, okay, you're in the process. So you're started the process. So we're going to be discussing the process, moving from being a boy to becoming a man. Now, on this program, I think I've talked more on women, the girl child, help her grow, don't abuse her, don't do this. But today I want to focus on the men. So my first now, to start it, I think I'll start with Raphael, then I'll come to Chumi. How was the process for you? If you remember if you can still remember your teenage years and moving from boy to becoming a teenager, how was the process for you? Was it easy, fun? Oh, I had free access to my dad. People, I could talk freely to him. How was the process for you?
I won't directly say I had free access to talk to him. Basically, maybe on life issues.
Okay.
The only discussion or anything that brought us together that made us very close was football.
Okay.
Yes, because I remember as a very young boy, me and my dad would walk distance just to go and watch something. I remember the Champions League final '95. We walked a distance to go and watch it, and then also the Japan '93 final. We walked a distance to go and watch.
So you can actually still remember these dates.
Yes, I tell you. So I always tell people, I never bought a football boot with my money because I always used this football boot because we played football together. But I think aside that, we never really had that telling me how to do this, how to do that. Then, of course, I grew up in Lagos, Ajegunle to be precise, where we have this, I call it free access. After you wake up, you do what you need to do in the morning, till you go to the sea in the evening.
So you're just allowed to navigate it yourself?
Just go like that. The only person who didn't allow me move that movement was my mother. The moment she does not, so I didn't go beyond my street.
Okay.
In fact, from you count my house to the first 5 houses, this one to the left and to the right. When she comes out, she doesn't see me, problem. And then of course Dad goes to work, and doesn't come back till late. It's very early. So apparently it was basically my mom that was making sure you don't do anyhow. But then there was that free movement. Myself and my dad, we had that football thing together Saturday most especially. Because of course when it comes out from work during the weekdays, it's very late. But Saturday, street football. Okay. But we never had that.
You didn't have that father talk. No. Oh, we'll come to that because I know that sounds like a common story. I don't know if that's the same thing with you, your childhood.
I think it's a common thing with the average Nigerian family or African family. There are stories anyways of people who were close to their parents, who were close to their dads, and who have such conversations. But like he said, most of our parents were, for me, my dad was, a civil servant who worked you know, 9 to 5, and sometimes we'll stay extra hours, you know, at work. And then once he's back, it's news after news. You are going to sleep. So yes, my mom did most of the, you know, taking care of. But on the, I mean, he, to be fair to them, you know, they navigated that aspect of our lives the best way they could, because, you know, in circumstances we found ourselves, you know, at the time. Yeah, but so for me, I think going forward, you know, if we're looking at, you know, the talk is the process. So for me now as a father, I remember the process of maybe dating and telling my wife that I have to be intentional with my own kids, trying to make sure I have time for them, talking to them, and make sure that, you know, I know what's happening in their lives. Because other than, hey, how was school? Show me your results. Hey, that's basically it.
Did you feel a bit of performance? Your relationship was more performance based. For example, if you were first in the class, you were the favorite of dad, and I don't know if it happens the same way, because in the world of women is the best behaved, but I don't know in the world of men. How did you navigate that one?
My dad never put me in that bracket.
Okay.
He was of the opinion that, how will I put it now? He never put that pressure on me.
Okay.
So I never chose anybody based on your result. Everybody was equal.
So even if you were first
if you
and
like come
last,
first, it doesn't change anything to the next person. Yes.
I don't think that happened like that.
Well, the thing, so everyone, like, I think people's experiences are
Quite
different. Yeah, so
yes.
for us, also, it was more, not necessarily within the nuclear family, but I remember vividly, you know, at the extended family, when we always went home for Christmas, you know, we had on the 31st of December, we always had a large family gathering. And in that large family gathering, they always awarded prizes to people, yeah, so to people who came first, second, third in their class. So that was pressure. You know, everyone's, you know, every time you're going home, you know, you're at the back of your mind, I must come first, or second, at least third. If you don't come there, you're the... And then now, to make matters worse, my immediate younger brother was the champion in the house. He always, every time you saw his result, he was always first, never second. I think just once in the history of our primary school, you know, education, and even into secondary school, that he came second, and he was really bitter about it. I think a girl beat him, and he was really bitter about it. And he made sure that, you know, when I get back to school this time around, I'll deal with this person. So he was always first. So now imagine, you know, going home.
Yes, and then you didn't.
And you know, me, I was a smart child, but I never came. I won't come on TV. I tell you, I came first. No, I never came first, but at least top 10
every
years
father
and
came
everything.
first in school. I wonder which father came last in the class.
So
Why I said my dad never put me under that bracket, because he never at one point talked about coming first.
Okay.
He never at one point talked about coming first. I remember struggling to get into university, and then I was crying, and he told me, "Why are you crying? That is not this university, you will go. That you're just giving yourself headache. That when it's time, even you cannot stop it." And so I tell people that when it's time for whatever wants to happen, you can't stop, because I remember that word very strongly. He told me, "Why are you crying? It's not school. It's everybody's going to that same school. You see that school, you will go to the same school, so don't worry your head." So I was never in that bracket of, I think he just had and he has a way of just putting me out. This is my son, he's a very smart boy, don't please on that one. So somehow in my subconscious mind I say, "Okay, behave." They know you have it.
Somehow, that's why even if, being close to Raphael, you can't put Raphael down.
Yeah.
You can't talk him down and tell him, "Oh, you're like this," and Raphael always has a response because that's the confidence. Okay, so both of you now work with teenagers, because I know you work with teenagers at Cathedral, you also work with them, and all things. And I know our generation is a little different from this one. They're a new breed of humans. They're not the same. Now, I want to try to understand how a young boy who's watching can navigate this season of his life, because that change comes in. For the women, every lady know, and I think, I don't know if they talk much. I think even in secondary school, they talk more about the women in biology class that I can't remember much.
Everywhere was always about the women and the girl child.
Yeah, the girl child. There was really very little for the boy child. So how does he navigate that from going from boy, noticing that his emotion is changing, because I want to look at it emotionally and also physically. Please be as open as possible, because I want as little young boys that are listening or parents can bring their children to listen to what you're saying. So how do they navigate it? Because the next question I would even want to think about would be how fathers can help, because I don't know if your father sat down and told you, oh, at this age expect this, when you expect this, come and meet me. I only know my uncle did it to his son. If you do this and you don't see this in the morning, come and meet me and I'll tell you what the problem is. So if you see them today, they're very cool. So how does a young boy, let's start emotional before we talk about the physical, how does he begin to navigate the emotional changes? You can use yourself if you had that changes. You know, one time you're a small boy who is just running freely all over the place, naked and all that. Suddenly you realize that you can't do it anymore. So how did you, I don't know if you can still remember how you were able to navigate that process.
No, I'll always use my Ajegule background.
Okay.
From the age of maybe 13, 14, 15, you're already putting yourself out. My cousin will always yab me then. She was older with 2 years. She was like, fine boy, you don't go bath for evening. Because usually we leave morning. As if we're not going anywhere. Maybe during holidays, we will not take a bath from morning, then evening. Because that's when everybody is around. When I mean everybody, that's when the street is busy. Either they're playing football, girls are passing, so it's busy. So everybody dresses their best.
Okay.
And then even if you don't have anywhere to go, you stand outside your compound.
Okay.
Just to appear. Just to appear. And the ladies also do it. But for the guys, you know, we have, I don't know, I'll speak for myself. Emotionally, it's just everywhere.
Okay, emotions are just everywhere.
Yeah, it's just everywhere. The only time you feel that maybe, okay, you're actually feeling something is when after you've done all those things and then you expect to be noticed. And
you're
then
not noticed.
You're not noticed. You know,
really?
What's it happen?
well, so that's the thing, you know, like I think I want to, you know, concur with what he said with regards to, you know, there's so much emphasis on the girl child. And nobody talks about what is this guy going. So I'll use myself as an example. Growing up, I could not look at a girl and say, hello, how are you? Oh, you look nice.
Okay.
As a teenage
was it
boy.
Because you grew up or nobody told you what to do?
Not necessarily. So it's because, so you see a guy, sometimes you see a guy is handsome and everything, and in the girl's head maybe it gets like, this guy should be able to walk up to me and talk to me now, and that guy is shaking. In short, if you leave him, he'll pee or poo his pants.
Wow.
You know, because he's in his mind. For me, I'm contemplating, okay, what am I going to tell this person? How am I going to say hello? What am I going to say? And so in that situation, you are calculating 10 billion things. Like for other people, it comes naturally, you know. But for me, I would think, then if I summon up enough courage, you know, I'll just go and say hello. And in the moment you don't respond,
it's a big problem.
Okay, wait. I want to understand something. Now, there was a time you were a boy.
Yeah.
And you could freely talk to your classmates, you know, the little people are kids, they're just playing.
Even as a boy in Ajegule, I couldn't.
When you were as a boy with your peers, the ladies around, you know, at a point everybody's just together.
Yes.
Then it gets to a point just comes. What changes? I don't know. You know, I'm trying to enter the world of men right now.
There's this. When I was small, that's why I said as a boy.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the teenager now. Then there was this young girl then in the next compound. They said, Raphael, that's your wife.
Yeah, they are quick.
So
is it specific with a particular lady, or is it
a
particular lady? But maybe other ones you just play with them freely. Maybe your neighbor, you play with.
But when that person appears,
okay.
Every bit of your self-control comes into check. Like, so when somebody is trying to teach
you, as a boy,
yes.
Does it start that early?
Yes, I'm telling you. You know that's why when we made mention of the whole girl child thing, you know, somebody said to me, I want to believe she was joking, said nobody stops the men from training their own boy while we are busy doing that with the girls. Do you understand? This thing he said now is very serious. He happened to me on 2 different occasions. Number one was in school. I mistakenly told my friend about a particular girl that I had a strong crush on. One day, they just came. and called me out of the class and then carried me to the girls' class and dropped me on the desk. I was lost. And then the second one, I told these guys, I like this girl, this one, that one. And that was it. Then I just noticed that somebody tapped me. And by the time I turned, there was the girl standing in front of me.
Okay.
They said, you are calling me. I just died. I said, I said, me, call you. No, it's not me. I did it. And then when she turned, they were just laughing.
Yeah.
And every time I saw her, I would hide.
Yeah.
So nobody, for the girl child, now like from secondary school, like you rightfully said, I think what I remember is from biology. Far from biology, when they want to teach you, they start telling you, be careful, this one, that one.
Yes.
Then they carry the girls separately to a class, teach them what they want to teach them. But they expect the boys to be able to navigate
Exactly.
themselves.
And so that's why you find sometimes this anomaly in society where, you know, boys don't know how to behave because they have not been taught how to. Meanwhile, there's so much emphasis on teaching the girl. You need to. I remember as early as primary 6, elementary science. Primary 6, even in home economics. There's, I think, home economics too in primary 6. We had in my school, we had an aspect of that, and they would teach you, you know, as you're getting into that, you're about 9, 10, 11, getting into your teenage age. So they will tell you, okay, at this point in time, the girl is beginning to see her period and all those things. So for the guys, you people excuse from the class, we want to talk to the girls. Meanwhile, that same guy is getting into puberty and he does not know what to expect. You know, he's maybe some people, if the onset is early, you're having wet dreams. Some people are beginning to have their first erection and all those things, and they are trying to navigate that. Also, what is happening to me? And nobody is there to tell them, hello, okay, so this is what is happening. This is what you should do when you expect it. So, or when you see, this is how you should behave and all those kind of things. So it's, and then with that, it comes with, you know, shyness. So you find out that that guy maybe basically just recluse.
So probably when they start the early stage of puberty, like beginning to have the wet dreams, and then does it make you feel a bit withdrawn? There's something wrong? Because I know for the ladies, when you start seeing your period first, there's this feeling of withdrawal. First of all, you feel that there's something wrong with you.
Yes.
And then, but of course, aunties and will now tell you, no, it's okay. It means you're a woman. If they touch you now, you get pregnant. That was the magic they used to tell us those days. But I don't know if it's the same. Would the guy withdraw because he notices that, or would you have loved to share it with somebody and say, see what I am seeing?
I don't know for him, but for me, I don't think anybody ever heard that
at all.
From me.
You will not tell anybody. So that's the thing.
So why you?
So that's what we're trying to explain
Right,
here.
okay,
And for me, like I said, I know that there may be families where people were quite intentional, maybe because of sometimes the background also of maybe the family also helps. But I can comfortably say that the average man, the average young child, would not have that conversation with his or her dad. In short, as a matter of fact, the tendency is to have it with your mom, and your mom will just, you know, shove it under the carpet. She may also
be uncomfortable.
Yes, to have that conversation with you. So we're scared, basically, as Africans and particularly Nigerians, we're scared to have that conversation. As opposed to when you get to other climes where people talk about it, you find out, you see, we watch Hollywood movies where you see the father actually encouraging the son, no, go out there, talk to the girl, go for prom dates. They set up the prom date for you and all those kind of things.
Even take you
there, you understand. But for us here, we are.
But you discuss it with your friends.
Obviously, at that level,
so
that's where you get information.
All right.
And then if you have it, now, and that is where people miss it sometimes, because if you have somebody who is a little bit more experienced in quote and is privy to hearing this, that's where people get it wrongly.
Yes.
So it is that person that becomes the yardstick, because, you know, the father figure or the uncle or nobody took time to say this is what's happening. That experienced person now tells you, now you be guy now, come make we go chase this girl, blah 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 blah, and then that's where you find people become delinquent. So that's where the influence comes from. So it's important, and it's very good that we're here and we have this platform, because I think I was saying to you just before we started, I had the opportunity to speak to my church. There was time we had a program, and then we had to talk about the experiences of young people. And one of the things that, that resonated was something like this. With the issue of growing puberty, development, parents run away. We don't have that. You don't want to talk about it. And even as a church, particularly with sex education, as a church, we run away from that topic because nobody wants to be heard saying what they feel is of sin, but it is necessary because, like you said, this generation now,
and now when those days you speak to your friends, now you just Google
access, what's going on,
and is open to you.
And the moment you even put it, how algorithms work. They might just send you. You might be genuinely looking for information,
and
you see
links,
what you don't want to see, and then all of a sudden that's the learning that person gets. And it's it's easier to learn. It's very difficult to unlearn.
Yes. Yeah. So a young boy is watching now and is thinking in his mind, "Oh, this thing is happening to me. So who do I talk to? Who I don't know. Who do you now go to talk to?" But actually, the women's side, most women actually might not even tell their mom when they start seeing their period. But some mothers, a lot of them, especially if your mom is a nurse, she's following you back to back and monitoring you like there's something, I don't think I went to my mom the first time I saw my period. I think I spoke to a friend actually, and because I'd seen her, she had talked about it before I said that. So, but who do you advise these young boys go to meet? Do they go meet daddy? That's if daddy is available. Should they go meet mommy? Mommy is not very much aware. Who do you advise? Let's say in the Teens Chapel now and you're telling them.
I would prefer the home front rather than going to that Teens Chapel.
Okay.
You get, or going to talk to somebody maybe in church or what have you, like he rightfully said, that the church doesn't even welcome such discussions, and you'll be wondering where else are we supposed to have these conversations so that we have the right information instead of going to my phone and just Google. Like you said, you Google and so many links
come up and leads you to the wrong place.
The one that you're even looking for may not have a catchy heading. It might just be one link somewhere. Before you know, you click from that one, it goes, and that's how it keeps going. So it's just to take the bull by the horn, and maybe it's very difficult. I must tell you this.
It's difficult for the man to
talk to the father because you don't have that window of discussion. Do you understand? So, but that's the same person you would most likely go to. But if you can't go to that person, it's still your mom, who will most likely push you back to the man.
Okay.
Who will most likely push you back to
the man.
So
the thing now is to tell fathers to prepare.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just going to say, I wish, because we're young fathers, if this we're supposed to be addressing, again, they will tell you which experience do you have, blah, blah, blah. But ideally, the education needs to be from up, down, to let parents understand that, this is important. It's very important. Going back to the question, I think the child should go to the father and keep hounding the father. Just keep hounding the father. At some point in time, he might open up to listen but keep hounding the father. And just hound your parents. I'm experiencing this, so this is what I'm experiencing. Just continue. At some point in time, for us sometimes, when we went maybe the first time, second time, we didn't get any response, we just moved. But if you continually say this, then I think they become aware that, so this guy is saying something. Let me pay attention to what he's saying.
Or can't fathers even go ahead of time to actually introduce it? I've met so many men. I don't think there's anyone that said their first experience they went to speak to their dad. But I know my uncle is late now, of blessed his memory. I know he actually took the effort to tell his sons strictly without fear.
And he must have been
a
carefree person.
Yeah, yes. He was strict about it. And he told, any morning you wake up and you don't see an erection, call me. So it was like a very serious matter for him, and he prepared them for the confidence they actually had, with time. So should the fathers now prepare, tell them beforehand?
So that's basically where we need to do now, from men to boys.
Okay,
the process. Yeah, so the fathers, the responsibility, and like I said, I identified it earlier in my life, in the sense that maybe because of exposure to certain things would, when for example you are if you're looking at something consistently, the tendency for you to become like that thing is high.
Yeah.
But when you see this and you see that and you see that, then you can choose, which one do I want? So I think what African and Nigerian parents need to do is be open to it, be open. I identified it earlier and I told my wife, I said, see, babe, for our children, I will be intentional with giving them access to daddy and mommy. If you have any issues, I should be the first person that should know. If I'm hearing secondary information, and then, you hear, maybe the child comes home, you now hear Mama Yabo, come, your child did this, blah, blah, blah. And then the parents will just react to what Mama Yabo said and maybe flog, punish. Not
Without
listening to
what he has to say.
Do you understand? So it's important that for our children growing up, and to all of us who are listening, if you are in this bracket, be intentional with them. Give them, if Mama Yabo comes and says, this child stole this thing, say, thank you, Mama Yabo. You can go. Then call the child and speak, find out, hear what he has to say. That child will most likely tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And then if the child actually did steal it, then you can now correct. If the child didn't steal it, tell Mama Yabo, this child didn't do that. But not for you to met out punishment. And that's where, the moment you do that, you lose that child.
Because we're going to come to that discussion when we come back from the break. Because if I'm trying to hear what we're saying now is the young boys should be listened to, because at that stage they really might not come out boldly to speak to you, So, but if they try, respond to them as fathers.
Yes.
What if you don't have a dad? Because some people are raised in a single mom, under a single mom. Maybe you can find a trusted. The mom should actually look for a trusted hand that he can actually speak to, someone that you've observed. That he can actually, because really mothers will never do all the job that the guy, we need. So if the child, even if it doesn't come, you should go react first, and speak to the guy.
But then again, we're talking about creating that window of discussion between fathers and their sons and so on and so forth. Fathers must learn, I'm putting this out there now, must learn to have that level of shock absorber, that when a question comes, your first reaction is not to rebuke.
Yes. That's a very, very good point.
Not to
very
rebuke,
good point.
because the minute you rebuke, that's the last you hear. And the next one might even be worse than what came first.
Exactly.
So when you hear, sometimes take a deep breath and just
take it in.
Even if you don't know how to answer first, say, okay, can you give me some time before blah blah blah, I will answer you. Then go and think how you answer that, because we had a program then in church.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about drug abuse and the likes, and somebody was trying to explain something, one of the drug being used. I don't know if I can mention it. Let me never mention it. And then he in trying to mention it, he didn't know he was teaching people to go and try something else, because we didn't even know that existed. Do you understand? So, but when that comes, the person comes with that kind of question. Now, how do you answer? Like, instead of this guy answering in a way that is teaching people new ways to go and do something else, you find a way of explaining to that boy that it doesn't move any further if it's something that's going to harm him. You get that it doesn't move further. Not when you now come and explain. I know kids are very inquisitive.
Curiosity.
You can just finish saying, "Pums, okay, what you're trying to tell me is that if this, it will now," which means, so you build your answer in a way that it has, I don't know what you call it.
You feel safe for them.
Yes, feel safe, and it's closed-ended.
Yes.
Okay.
So it doesn't leave. It's not open.
It
doesn't leave doors.
Open-ended everywhere.
So you keep.
Wow, I like what you say, but when we come back from the break, we'll continue. All right, viewers, we'll be right back.
In terms of true worship, we must seek the Lord. We will not be able to come with all our perfections.
We will recognize as superseding every other gift. So love, in essence, is very important. Our position is who we are. Our disposition is the way we relate to who we are. So it's not about your position, it's also about your disposition. People of God, I want to tell you that no matter who you are, no matter your position, your status, you have encountered that superior power, the efficacious power of the blessing.
It says this God hears prayers, and then he expands the limits of whose prayer is heard.
Welcome back, viewers. We're still discussing from boys to men, understanding the process. And my guests still Mr. Chuba Ezaku and Raphael Dojwakoban. Thank you so much. I think there's a lot of eye-opening information here.
Yeah.
Right now, just like we ended with the talk on, you were saying something about the young boys when they bring the question. No matter how scary it sounds,
Yes.
don't shut him down. Even if you don't know how to answer it, go and look for help first. But don't shut him down, because that. Now, these things okay, let me just bring it home. Did your childhood affect you in any way? Maybe in the way you relate to people, these close-ended areas that, you not being able to talk freely. Did it affect you in any way you're growing up? Or did you have to unlearn a lot of things to start relearning new things? Or you had to navigate the process yourself? Because I know, yes, I think you get my question.
Yeah, I understand. So, and that, again, so, they say charity begins at home. But to a large extent now, children don't learn anything at home. Because after primary school, 75% of the time they're in school. The secondary school or the university. So most of the time, you have just a short time with them. So for me, my parents helped in a way, because my mom was a disciplinarian. So the fear of my mother was the beginning of wisdom. My dad was a bit, my dad was a bit, he would just speak to you. He never flogged, all this kind of. So they gave us leeway to be bold, express yourselves, but at the same time, they confine you to certain ways of behaving. So, but most of the things children or young people learn, they learn from school. And that's why for me, that's why I still do what I do with the chapel, because I believe you can shape a child at that stage, when the child is still a teenager, or from 10 years and up to 15, I believe you can still manage. But if you're not able to get that child around that period, then you most likely have lost the child, in the sense that...
take that again. So, between age
10 and 15, you are able to... The things you say, how intentional you are about what you are telling them, the information you give to that child would shape that child for, the rest of... Because at that stage, by the time they get to 15 upwards, they are most likely formed. Their opinions are formed, and that's where you get arguments with your teenager. That's where if you come and tell him, no, you're supposed to come to church today for a weekly activity, he tells you, I know, Daddy, I want to stay at home and play my game. Because maybe you didn't enforce going to church, the importance of it at that period. And then at 15, 16, they are ready. For the girl child is almost already developed. For the boy child, he is growing, getting a bit more bolder and all that, aware of, all the things that are around him. So it's important that at that stage, you manage them properly. And if you're able to get that right, then you find out that you get children that are a bit well-rounded. That's my take.
Okay. You want to add something?
I was going to say it's like we grew up in the same house. Because like my father never touched me. The day he slapped me, I could tell
that you deserved
that he was struggling.
Yes.
Okay.
I could tell that he was struggling after he did it.
You felt bad.
He couldn't even look at me.
Yes.
Do you understand? And he only did it. He only did it just because my mom had gingered.
Okay. Yeah. I know, mommy. I said
But my mom chased me. I won't even give you Kokambu story. She chased me. I was running on the street. Every time I turned my back, I was seeing her. Every time I turned my back, I was seeing her. Where I noticed that she was going out of air was when she said, "Please hold him for me." And then these young guys and ladies were like, they held me and they were talking to themselves. This is my okay, this boy today.
Wow.
This is my okay, this boy. And my mom just knew they were discussing and just said, "If you leave him." So now, like you rightfully said, knowing fully well that if your mama goes out, I'm telling you, Angela, even if you sweep and clean everywhere, if my mom comes back, she's looking for a fault in that place. But not like my dad didn't really care. Like I rightfully said earlier on, he leaves early, comes back almost late to Lagos life, tired, and then the only thing I would say, like you asked now, we formed our lives mostly by watching. By watching that man, because people make jest of me when I go for outings and they say serve drinks, and I'm like, give me malt, give me coke, and they laugh at me and they mock me. For somebody even said, don't put this on our table, you're making the table ugly or something like that, because I never saw my dad drink.
Yeah, so that's another observation
from
that's
you.
it. Yeah,
so
that's
means,
it.
Most young guys, their father's actually their hero. Whatever their father do in a very funny way, they're actually learning from him.
Yeah, so it's you know, so the same way you hear that little children learn by, so everyone learns by observation to a large extent. So but when you're grown, for example, you decide what you want to do, you decide what you don't want to do. But for you, or for me, for example, it's my father I've known all my life. So if your father drinks, you the tendency for you to drink, except you decide to make a decision not to, as you have. If your father smokes, you most likely not see anything wrong with smoking. If your father chases women, you see nothing wrong with it.
Because he may even encourage
because
you
he
to
will encourage
join
you.
in.
Do you understand? And things like that. So
never saw him drink. So when people ask me, why don't you drink? Do you know I cannot explain to them. Honestly speaking, I can't explain to them because I think it's just because that's how I am, because of the person I'd seen. And like I also mentioned, we played football a lot. And my dad made us comfortable when playing football. There's this middleman, we call middleman. There's somebody in the middle, and then you pass the ball until the person touches the ball. My father is the only man in the middle of young boys. And he would, even if you tell him, no sir, come, he say, He say, I need to be here. So he would run around till he touches that ball. And then, so those are the little things.
Okay, you know, when I realized that this thing was serious, I was trying to look for statistics when I was preparing for this program, but I wasn't really finding much about men in Nigeria. You can get so many statistics about women. If you just Google the statistics of teenage ladies, you can even get the percentage in it, you know, but here it's not really common with guys.
I don't sound like I'm cutting you, even the church.
All right.
Now, if you check, I'm sorry to say, if you check, we have your girls' brigade. And when they meet, girls' guild, when they meet, they try to talk to them about how the girl should be this, should be that, should be this. From nowhere, we had Priceless Jewel.
Yes.
I think there's another one again, if I'm not mistaken.
There's women guilds, there's mothers union, there's sisters guild. Yes, there's sisters. Under the AY, there's sisters guild.
There's YWCA.
Young women Christian
not even married girl ladies, because I remember then in my church, when they did their anniversary, I saw young ladies that are not married also, they wore the uniform, and so for them, they are grooming them to become good mothers. These good mothers will meet boys that
nobody grown.
Then I heard one time they said they were trying to form one group. I think Joshua, Joseph.
Okay, yeah, I think I heard
never
that.
saw the light of day. I don't know if it still exists.
But how easy is it to start this men group? Men don't really have that. Okay, anyway, if you're starting it late when they're already formed,
That's where the problem
Oh,
is.
yeah.
That's where the problem is. Now you're bringing somebody who is already mature to come and say, we're forming Joseph group. What are you telling Joseph?
Yeah, that's true.
So if you're just going to just carry somebody who is wondering, what are you doing? That's why sometimes, even in the teenagers' church, no matter what you sing, you know, sometimes when you sing, yes, you praise God. Sometimes you feel like they say, if your praise doesn't touch the next person or whatever you're doing doesn't touch the next person, sometimes it worries you as a person, even though, yes, you know you're praising God, but you want everybody to be carried. But you know, sometimes you can be singing and somebody will be like this.
And then you're wondering what's going on in this guy's mind.
I am telling you, and he's looking at you like, when you don't finish, let us know. And that's how the person is going to be throughout that service. And I've met a lot of them, when service is going on upstairs, they're downstairs, they're going to press that phone from the beginning of the service till it ends, and when it's time to go back home, they just join the parents in the car and they go home.
And
now,
the parents most likely will not ask them.
No question about what was the topic of the sermon. What was discussed, how was service, what happened. So you just enter car, because of obviously the topic that will be discussed in the teenagers' church may not be the same thing in the adult church. So you don't even ask that person. In the case where you have just 4 boys and they've all gone to the youth church or the teenagers' church,
you just assume that they've learned something.
They've learned something. So I think the church also needs to do a lot. You know, there was a time that it would be it's funny when they came up with this whole youth church and teenagers' church early. It was so bad that some people were even suggesting that the men should sit in one place, the women should sit in one place. Like, you begin to wonder, why am I sitting? When that person asks you, why am I sitting here and sitting there? And then you don't have a concrete answer to give that person, it becomes a problem entirely. And like Chuba rightfully said, the moment they get to a particular stage, whatever you are saying doesn't make any sense
to them.
You know, just as I was saying the story of with the research I was doing, and I just saw the statistics in the United States. I didn't bring them out, but a large chunk of the guys in the prison, actually, one thing they regret was the fact that they didn't have a father.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have a father to tell them, because somehow those days you were just scared of your dad, not like he was going to do anything, but there was this authority that father exerted at home. So the summary of what I like us to say here now is that the father should actually stand up to his responsibility. Young fathers now, because the other ones, so which means most of the issues we're having with the men we're having today, we are married today, that we don't understand. You know, my husband is so domesticated that he helps a lot in a lot of things in the house. And he's doing exactly what his father did to his mom. Because the mom was telling me, you know, I didn't meet my father-in-law, but she was telling me how, you know, he would take her clothes and wash it and iron it and, you know, cook for her, go to the market to buy things. And I'm saying, this is exactly what your son is doing. So even my husband didn't realize that he had picked those things from me. It's later I started noticing that, oh, this is exactly what my father does. This is exactly what my father does. You know, so the father figure is so if your father is an authoritarian, there's likely
tendencies that you will be.
Just like you said. Okay, so I want us to now talk to the young guys. Navigating the process of pressure for social media, pressure for women, pressure for sexual urge. You know, right now you're talking, I think there's a lot of pressure on the young men. Sometimes they're even put under pressure to mature faster. Oh, don't show emotions, don't cry. When it happens, hold it, you're a man, you know. And this guy buries this thing inside and you see him being. So how do we navigate? Let me start with you, and then I'll come to you.
So for young men, anyways, again, it's good to, I'll use myself as an example. So in terms of dating, pressure from social media, so we go back again. So charity begins at home. The values you learn from the house or from your home eventually cascades and develops who you are. The values you pick up also from society, and if you want to now be a good person, by the time you become maybe 18, 19, and you know, you started forming opinions for yourself. So the values you pick up from society, whether you pick up the good ones or the bad ones, also adds to that. So eventually, when you're that young man and maybe you're in the process of dating or maybe and things like that, it shows, it talks, it says a lot about who you are. So for me, you know, I knew that, okay, I know the home I'm coming from, so I know so you have a reputation to keep one. Your character is built already, so you have a reputation to keep. You don't want to, there are certain things you don't want to do. So I told myself early, you know, if I'm going to date, for example, I want to date with the intent of getting married. And I don't think I want to build baggage.
You have to prepare your mind early
enough. You have to help yourself early enough towards what you want to do. Because some people will tell you, dating is you get to meet people, you can make friends. But when you are dating somebody, you date with intention. So anyone who I dated ever, I had at the back of my mind, hello, I wanted to settle down with this person. And when it didn't work, I just quickly told myself, okay, it's not working, and I moved on. And then it helps you with, you know, expectation. For example, I was talking to a friend of mine, and then he was telling me that, you know, he never slept. He married his wife a virgin, he was a virgin. And I can say that here proudly too. I married my wife a virgin, I was a virgin also. And, you know, it helps you with expectations, because you then go into maybe, you know, the home, and then maybe, for example, in love making and things like that, there are no baggages. So I'm talking about now the pressure.
When you're moving
oh,
to
this person did this way. So because this person did this way, and maybe you felt it was better, now you are with this person, and this person is doing this way, and you have it, and it's not doing. So that's why you have a lot of discontentment in issues like. So it helps you with a lot of. It helps you you enjoy yourself, you grow together, you have that for yourself. In terms of social media, I mean, everybody, see, young men, where's the camera? Let me tell you people something. You need to understand this, that you can never, ever not go through the process. There's always a process in life. And if you don't follow the process, you would most likely not get to that destination. Some people, see, you can, for example, with money, for example, let me just go there and use this to drive my point home. If you are not the child of a billionaire or a royal, for example, Harry, Williams, people like that, who maybe there's an inheritance for you. My dear, if you don't put the work, you will not make it. It's very, very simple. It's that simple. So forget what you see on social media. Some people don't get their whatever they acquire through legitimate means. Put in the work, you will get there. Just, you can't, because you've done 1 year of work, compare yourself with your boss who has done 30 years.
That's what most people are doing.
Yes, and he's driving a Jeep, and you're expecting to drive a Jeep at 1 year. No, it's not possible. You don't know the sacrifices that boss has put in, you know, before that. And it happens, and it affects every part of your life generally. So I think if we understand this as young men, you know, forget your peers. If they are telling you to drink, if you want to drink, well, I'm not going to advise you to, because I feel alcohol is not good to consume alcohol. But don't, you know, form opinions for yourself, and then stick to it. If you say you want to drink, well, that's up to you. But not because somebody says, okay, let me take this. You now decide you want to take. You are messing up. You are messing yourself up.
I would start from where he stopped, and again, knowing the kind of friends you have around. You know, we're having this departmental week in school, and we're going around school with music and everything. I became very thirsty and I needed to drink something. I just needed to collect something from somebody and drink. You know, I went to this guy and I said, I beg, give me this, your drink. And he told me, Raphael, this one will be the one where if you drink. And he went and got me water.
So those they know you.
Yeah.
This is your standard.
He just said, this one will be for you. Give me. The funny part is, I didn't even take it from him. He had given to somebody to sip, and I took from that person, and he ran from where he was. I said, this one will be for you.
Okay.
And he brought water and gave it to me.
So even the people that are bad, or the so-called bad people, when they know you have your standard, yes, they would even protect you.
allow me to digress a little bit.
Yeah.
We were in church one day in my 100 level, and then this is my roommate opened his Bible, and then something dropped from the Bible, and then my co-roommates didn't know what had dropped, so he picked it up and was doing like this. And I looked at him and said, "Why are you brandishing weed in church?" I'm telling you, that evening, the so-called bad boys came to our room and they were scolding him. Of all places to hide it. This is a Bible. You didn't even see where to hide it. Do you understand? So it's the kind of people you have around you. They should know you
For who you are.
So no matter
So be
what
the
they
influence.
do,
Yes.
do you
Don't
understand?
be influenced.
Don't be
Exactly.
influenced.
Yes.
And then he also mentioned being intentional about who you're dating when it comes to relationship. And I must say this out. On social media, nobody's poor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People tend to
Because
show
you post your best.
Yeah.
That's
On social media, nobody's poor. I heard of a story of a girl who would go from one hotel to another hotel just to go and pay the cleaners just to
Take
post.
pictures,
Yes,
yeah.
and then I had the weekend, blah, 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 blah. After you work out, go out, go drink Gary. You get. So on social media, nobody's poor. And then when you're dating, you date with intention. My wife didn't accept to marry me because I kept telling her about marriage.
Your intention from
She said I was scaring her that the only thing that we were talking about, anything that we're talking about was always leading to that we're going to get married. I said, then what am I doing with you if I'm not going to? So we stayed for that long, for 2 years. That's why she didn't accept to date me in the first place, because of this, before we now eventually did. And then I also want to say this. I see a lot of people drawing, what's it called? Their inspirations or what have you. I don't know if I'm using the right word. From outside celebrities and so on and so forth. When you have parents in the house, who should be your first examples as to how marriage should be, as to how a companion should be. Because I don't think anybody will teach you better than those in the house. Like me in the house, I never saw my parents fought. The only time I know that if they have small quarrel, is when my father comes to me, and that's the only time we talk. That's the only time we talk. Then he comes to me and he's grumbling.
But this time you're already Lord grown.
I'm talking about from like maybe 20 upward, and then he starts grumbling, and then I'm like, what's happened? And then he starts unpacking.
Packing on
And now most times
because you need somebody to. You see, also if you train your child well, you can actually speak to them, and they'll speak back to you, and you can encourage each other.
So what I would tell the young man growing about, like Chuba rightfully said, and I'll also reiterate again, is that nobody's poor on social media. And then secondly, you must learn to do the work. Do the work from, like he said, the brother came second and was angry. Now he was not angry at the girl.
He was angry because his girl beat him.
He was angry that the girl beat him, and the only way to beat the girl is to go and do the work.
He's going to do the work,
He's going to do the work and come first. Not to go and kidnap the girl and say, she's not in class, I'll carry first. Do you understand? Do the work, and you just find yourself doing things. And again, I must put this out. I think we have stopped the culture of asking questions. Where when I was in school, if I came back home from school with a pencil that was not mine,
exactly,
that all hell break loose. My mother will pull out
you go back home.
You will go back to
and
school.
drop it.
You must return that pencil because it is not yours. Now you see a young man who is not even working but owns an iPhone 15.
How did you get it?
Or a young lady.
Because somebody didn't tell him from the beginning that when you have something that is not yours, it's wrong.
My roommate in 100 level, Yinka, I'm sorry I mentioned his name. He came to school. Just imagine he bought everything in this studio. As we're about to go home, he sold everything. He only left school with what he came to school with. And we're asking him why he's saying, he would say, that the father must not see him even with a plastic spoon that he did not come to school with.
Wow.
So we must also bring back the culture of asking questions.
Asking questions. Quite a whole lot to unbundle from this discussion. I wish I even had more time because there's some things I also wanted to talk about, but at least you've touched it. Social media is not real. Everybody is trying to put out their
Their
best.
best.
So don't look at it as anything. Oh, all the dollar, all those things they're spraying, it's not real. It's all make believe. I learned some people, they finish spraying, then they go behind and pack it back.
Yes.
People even borrow money to do all those things and then come back. So it's all a lie to get followership. Then talking. In fact, if there's one thing I've gotten from here is the talking part. Sometimes some people were raised being flogged all the time.
Yeah.
You do something, they flog you. Mothers were experts at flogging. I know my dad wasn't really a fan of flogging, but somehow we all feared him as well. But the place of flogging, do you think we should still flog? But you also talked about discipline. Yes, that just came back to my mind. There should also be discipline.
Yeah.
In as much as I want to talk to you, I want to be your friend. I'm not your friend, I'm your father.
Yes.
Exactly.
But the discipline must be there.
There's an adage in Yoruba that says, what it means, if you speak to the child with the right hand, use the left hand to bring the child back.
Okay.
Now, that child you have beaten needs to understand why you
Why
have
you
beat.
did, yeah.
Not back, get out. The next time,
Or don't even tell him, don't you know what you did is bad? No. Tell him.
tell
him
the
what
child
he
what the child did.
Yeah, okay.
Because to that child at that point in time, whatever he or she did was normal.
Because there's foolishness in children. They don't really know. They just do things.
Very innocent.
Yeah.
And then when they do it, you let them. Let me say this. I was sleeping one day and I heard my wife whispering and scolding Zoe very early in the morning, my daughter. So I stayed. They didn't know I was awake. I stayed. I was watching the two of them. What did she do? She had carried my earpiece and she had chewed it.
Yeah.
Chew. It was scattered. So, when they finished, and I asked her, what did she do? She just, even her, was feeling the fear. So I think I had to tell her at that point in time, this is not food.
This is not food. Corrected her.
It's not food.
Yeah. So we're ending it now. Thank you so much for coming on the program. I wish I had more time to talk about it, because I still want to talk about a couple of other things. Maybe I should pull you back. Come and talk about it. To extend the discussion. And all that.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming on the program. I think I've learned a lot, and I believe fathers that are watching are learning. Mothers that are watching should call their husband. Come and hear what these men are saying. And I'm really trusting God that lots of people will learn from what we have discussed on the program. Thank you so much for coming. I know I could trust you guys.
Thank you for having
I
us.
know I could trust you guys.
I think it's important,
Yeah.
just like you said, it's important to have more of this
More
kind
of
of
this
conversation.
kind of
And then especially like you said, for the boy child,
For the boy child.
there's so much emphasis on the girl child.
But
Let's
you need to
Let them
do
be balanced.
Let's be balanced. Bring up the boys, especially when they are young, not when they are already formed.
Exactly.
All right, for the past couple of minutes, I've been speaking with Mr. Chuba Ezako. Mr. Chuba Ezako is a psychologist, an estate surveyor, and a teens coordinator, as you can hear from his discussion and examples. We're also speaking with Raphael Giacomo. He's an earth scientist, media personality, and also gospel artist. Just as we heard so many stories from his life and his mother chasing him. Thank you for joining us on the program today. I believe we've learned a lot. I'll see you next week. I'm Angela Emeka. Goodbye.